Good morning, Sea Keepers. Let's begin our day. Good morning, dear Earth. Good morning, dear Sun. Good morning to the trees and the flowers everywhere. Good morning, dear beasts and the birds in the trees. Good morning to you, and good morning to me. A little seed for you to sow, a little dirt for it to grow. A little hole, a little pat, a little wish, and that is that. A little sun, a little shower, a little while, and then a flower. And so this week's flower is going to be one that can grow wild, and many of you might not necessarily have it wild in your backyard, but you might have it in your backyard, and it's called mint. There's a lot of different kinds of mints, and so later on you can go throughout the curriculum and I'll talk a lot about the mint family and how you can identify a mint plant. Alright. This week's story is a tale from Sweden, and it's called The Old Woman and the Little Mouse. I had to think of a story about a mouse since we sent mice last week, so hopefully you guys can react to this story at some point with your mice that you got in the mail as well. I hope you enjoy. Once there was an old woman who sat spinning at her wheel, and while she sat spinning, she sang a song. Spin, spin, spin my spinning wheel. All of a sudden, a little mouse scurried out from a little hole behind her oven. What do you want, little mouse? Excuse me, ma'am, but I have a question from my mother. What are you going to do with the wool you are spinning? Well, said the old woman, I'm going to knit a sweater for my husband. His is so old and worn that it doesn't keep him warm anymore. Pip, said the little mouse, I will tell my mother. And the little mouse scurried out behind the oven through the wall. And the little old lady continued to spin. And as she spun, she sang a little song. Spin, spin, spin my spinning wheel. Out scurried the little old mouse again from behind the wall. Whatever do you want, little mouse? Said the old lady. Well, said the little mouse, I have a question for my mother. What are you to do with your husband's old sweater when you knit him a new one? Well, answered the old woman, after I mend it, I will use it myself, as my old sweater is old and so worn that it doesn't keep me warm any longer. The little mouse listened, and carefully, and then he said, Pip, thank you, I will go tell my mother. And away he scurried in the hole behind the oven, and the old woman carried on spinning, and while she was spinning, she sang the little song. Spin, spin, spin my spinning wheel. A little while longer, the mouse scurried out from behind the hole in the wall, behind the oven. Whatever do you want? Asked the old woman. Well, said the little mouse, I have a question for my mother. What are you going to do with your old sweater when you use your husband's old one? Ah, answered the old woman, I will give it to our old dog. His old blanket is so worn and so not warm anymore, so he needs one for his basket. Ah, pip, 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 said the little mouse. I will go tell my mother, as he scurried out in the hole behind the oven, once again, out of sight. Spin, 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 my spinning wheel, sang the old woman. All of a sudden, the little mouse scurried out from behind the hole where the oven was. Whatever do you want? Asked the old woman. Well, I have another question for my mother, said the mouse. What are you going to do with your old blanket when you give your new one to your dog? Well, said the old woman, as her blue eyes got very big and large, would you like to have it? The little mouse was so happy that he jumped up and down and did a little mouse dance. And while he danced, he sang, Now I have a little sleep tight and a warm and snuggy all night. Little Mouse was so happy. He ran up to the old woman and gave her a big old hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will go tell my mother. Beep! And he scurried behind the oven, through the hole in the wall, and told his mother. And then he knew that he will sleep tight and snug for the rest of the winter's days. The